إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the Young Smirks podcast. I'm with a very special guest, the Feachaz.
Yes.
How you doing?
What is poppin', bro?
What are you doing on my podcast?
Well, they invited me in your podcast, and we invited you to cold old Canada, and I hope it's cold enough for you. So.
It's too cold.
There was a day around here was like minus 24 or something like that, with a wind chill of minus 31, and I sent you
that picture. The side of your door just freezing.
Yeah.
Every few hours you have to open the door, make sure you don't get frozen in.
Oh, you're not gonna open that door. No, that door stays closed when it gets like that, you know.
So subhanAllah, we're in sunny Canada.
Yeah,
but it's minus 20 or something. It's freezing, subhanAllah.
Yeah, mashallah.
Well, it's good to see you, man.
Hi, Uncle. Nice meeting you, bro.
I've been watching your videos.
Jazakallah khair.
And you know, for us, YouTube generation, you know, this is like you just kind of popped out of nowhere.
Yeah. You know how many people said that to me?
You know, and you're like, who's this guy? SubhanAllah, you know. But you've been around for a while.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yep.
People forget that YouTube's not always been the format of dawah, or you know, where people are consuming knowledge or even entertainment or Islamic kind of information.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to get to that later because I want to know about you first.
No problem.
But yeah, so you actually revert to Islam.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
When did you come to Islam?
Oh, wow, that's a story, man. You got time?
You got time? I got some new batteries somewhere.
Well, man, so back in the day, this is before internet, before you could get information online or anything like that. Back in those days, right, you had to read books, right? So I was Catholic, and I went to Catholic school. And in reality, I didn't, you know, back in those days, we didn't know anything about Islam, like nothing. You know what I mean? Like nothing at all, right? And what happened was I was going to Catholic school, and in Catholic school, when you reach a certain grade, they give you a project to do on world religions, right? So there are 5 major religions. You know, you have your Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? And I wanted to do something that's far away from Christianity because I'm Christian at that time. I believe in Christianity. I was an altar boy and everything, you know, you can believe that, right?
Oh, you're going to have to dig some pictures out. I know you got some pictures.
Yeah, man.
I was an altar boy as well.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
I used to play the church organ.
Oh, no, you went way further than me, man. I just kind of...
Not very good, you know. Only because you got £15 every Sunday. That's why I was like, what? £15?
Yeah.
You don't get paid to be an altar boy.
Yeah.
But I also used to ring the bell.
Yep. I rang the bell and ding, ding, ding. You know, I did everything, you know, so... but anyway... what happened was I wanted to do something that was different from Christianity. So you have to put your name in a like a pool because there's only 5, right? And the class is like, you know, at those times it wasn't that big, like 25 students or something like that, right? So I wanted to do Hinduism, right? So I put my name. You have to put it in order: Hinduism and whatever you want first. So my first choice is actually Hinduism because I know this is far away from Christianity. And the teacher said, you know, we got a group for Hinduism. We got to pick something else. So I said, okay, I'm going to choose Buddhism now, right? Right? Because it is, I know Buddhism is pretty far too, right? Got a group for that. Pick something else. So what's left? You have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? And I said, okay, well, you know, if you're Christian, you kind of have an understanding about Judaism anyways, right? But Islam, I don't really know. Like I never even heard of it. And I asked my teacher, what's Islam? And she said, well, it's something like Christianity. I believe a lot of the similar things, but they have another prophet. I said, really? Okay, so I want to do Islam now. All right, she said, okay. So,
but why did you want to study something different?
because we already know about Christianity.
Yeah, but why didn't you choose the easy mark? You know, if you know about it.
Because I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn, right?
Oh, this
you know
is a different generation.
Yeah, yeah.
We like just want the easy marks.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it wasn't about the marks. It was about the experience of learning, right? This is learning something different, right? Yeah. So now, like I said, you have to read books, okay? Yeah. So in those days, there were no Islamic books, nothing, right? Yeah. So how do you get your information about Islam? You have to go to Encyclopedia Britannica. Yeah. You know, for those of you who don't know what Encyclopedia Britannica is, it's a very large series of volumes of books.
It's like a book version of like Wikipedia.
Yeah,
but more authentic.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know, so that's what it is. It's very, very large, right? So it's everything about the world. So you got to read. So I got the reading and everything like that, and I saw that, you know, this Islam stuff is like, it's similar to Christianity, except they don't believe that Jesus is God. They don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and they don't believe that Jesus died on the cross, right? Yeah. So in my head, I'm like 13 years old at that time, right? I don't know anything else, right? In my mind, I'm like, well, who are these Johnny-come-latelys saying Jesus isn't God and he's not the Son of God, and he didn't die on the cross, right? And I mean, if you don't believe that Jesus is God, okay, maybe, but he didn't die on the cross. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking in my mind, right? So that was my first experience with Islam, right? So I did that project, then I go to high school, okay? And this was in the late 80s. And at this time, there was like this big type of hip hop revolution at this time, right? Because when hip hop was coming up, you know, it was kind of really suppressed, but then it just kind of blew up, right? So you got a lot of rappers who were talking a lot of conscious things, right? Lots of consciousness, right? So I go to high school now, and I meet Muslims for the first time, right? So I start talking to them. Now, mind you, these Muslims are not good Muslims, okay? They're not like, you know, they're like, you know, they're like us, you know, they're kind of like...
I'm not surprised. You tell me, I'm like, all right, yeah. The same with me, subhanAllah.
Yeah, so I'm like arguing with them all the time, you know, and, you know, you guys believe that... you know, you guys believe that Jesus didn't die on the cross and blah blah blah, and I used to think that they worshiped the Kaaba and all this kind of stuff, and that's why you guys pray to the east, and you know, all kinds of weird things, right? Because I didn't know. The only thing we understood at that time that Muslims, they blow themselves up in buses, because that's all we saw on the news, right? We didn't know anything, and they're like, no, it's not like this, it's not like that, you know, and you know, I remember at the same time, I started hearing some hip hop groups. So I used to listen to Public Enemy. That was my favorite group back in the day for years, right? And in one of their lyrics, they say, "A follower of Farrakhan. Don't tell me that you understand until you hear the man," right? But I never even understood what that meant. And what happened was one of my friends, right, gave me a cassette from Louis Farrakhan, right? He said, "Here, listen to this," right? So I said, "Okay," and I go. And I listened to it, right? And I remember this cassette. It's called The Pale Horse, right? And remember, I don't know anything, all right? And after I heard that cassette, I was like, no, man, this guy's speaking the truth, right? This guy's speaking the truth, right? Mind you, Farrakhan, he's not Muslim. He's not Muslim, okay? He's like, he believes in some weird things. This is well known. He's Nation of Islam, right? However,
they claim to be Muslim.
They claim to be Muslim. Yeah, exactly. And this experience that I had is so common with black converts, especially at that time frame, right? Many of us, our first experience with Islam was through Louis Farrakhan, right? And I just happened to be one of them, right? So I heard this.
He's a very powerful speaker, though.
He is.
You can't take that from him.
You can't.
He can speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? Right? Because I really don't know anything much about Islam. I have a girlfriend at that time, right? And She's Shia, okay? She's Rafida Shia, right? Right? But I don't know anything, like nothing. I don't know the difference between Sunni and Shia, nothing, right? I'm just thinking Islam, and I know this guy, this man, Louis Farrakhan, says he's Muslim, and he's speaking the truth. So now I have to pray on this. So I went in my backyard, right? And I made dua, right? And but I'm Christian, okay? So I'm making supplication, not dua. I'm making supplication, right? So my supplication went to my backyard, right? I'm like 15 years old at the time. And I said, dear God, whatever the true religion is, guide me on that religion, whether it's Christianity or other than that, right? That was my dua, right? Yeah. Right? I got on my hands and knees and everything, right? I remember like it's yesterday, right? And about 2 weeks later, after talking to my girlfriend and this person who gave me this Louis Farrakhan cassette, because I was asking, I was like, well, how do you become Muslim, right? Well, you have to take your Shahada, right? Yeah. And about 2 weeks later, that's what I did. I took my Shahada on the phone, right? With the Shia girl, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how I became Muslim, right? Yeah. Now remember, I don't know anything about Islam at this time, right? So I'm still kind of learning. The very first book, wallahi, the first book I got about Islam, the name of it was Introduction to Islam, okay? Yeah. Introduction to Islam. This book was a Rafida Shia book. Wow. Right? That's the first book I ever got about Islam. Yeah. At this time, there weren't really Qurans, translations. They had like what's that guy? Pickthall, right? They had Pickthall. Yeah. They're one of these older translations. And then the Yusuf Ali started coming out. Yeah. Right?
There wasn't much like other literature.
No, nothing. Yeah. There's nothing. Zero. Zero. You know what I mean? So how are we getting our information? Louis Farrakhan. Public Enemy. That's how we're doing it, right? So I get this book and I start reading it. I'm memorizing now the Adhan, right? It's a true story. So I'm memorizing the Adhan. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, ashhadu an Ali wali Allah, right?
Oh, subhanAllah.
Right? So I bear witness that nothing worthy of worship except Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I bear witness that Ali is the friend of Allah, right? Right. So that's how I memorize it. So one day, I don't know if you know Abu Shahada.
I know him from YouTube.
Yeah, Abu Shahada, Dawood Dynamics, right? He was the guy that used to drive us around, right? Because he had the car, and we all went to the same school. Me, Abu Shahada, the brother Alfaz, Karamat, So one day we drove to this brother's house. His name is Imam Bilal, right? Right? And with time for Salat came, right? And remember, I'm learning how to pray from this book. Yeah. Right? This was my teacher, right? So all the movements, the Adhan, everything, I've learned from that book. Nobody else is teaching me. Right? So I asked, can I call the Adhan? She said, sure, call the Adhan, right? Right? So Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, Ashhadu an Ali wali Allah. What did Bilal just say? Wallahi. That really happened, right? Right? So I said that, and after I finished calling the Adhan, one of the brothers actually, Imam Bilal is like, what did Bilal just say? And he just said that Ali is the friend of Allah. And he goes from the Shia. That's the first time I ever heard of Shia. Yeah. That's the first time that I knew that Muslims were groups. Yeah. Right? But I didn't make the connection that, these people are not Muslim, right? Yeah. I don't know, right? All right. This is my journey, right? So, anyways, we start going to this group. It's called Ansar Allah, right? Yeah. This is a group that was led by a guy named he's now Malachi Z. York. He's in jail, Dwight York, right? And
it started in the States, right?
It started in the States, right? And at those days, he was Imam Isa, right? Imam Isa, right? Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, because he's supposed to be the Mahdi.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's supposed to be the Mahdi, right? So we start going to his meetings, right?
SubhanAllah.
Is me, Abdul Shahid, another brother named Hannibal. He's Shia now, right? And we would just go to his meetings and learn from him, right? Because he's very charismatic, right? And like one of the things that appealed to me about the Nation of Islam, for example, is that they said that for example, they said the white man is the devil, right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, white man is the devil, right?
This beliefs just fit with your fitra, right?
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Right? But when they started saying the black man is God, I was like, nah, it's like that's too much, right? I can't get into that, right? So Imam Isa, he's kind of like the same thing, right? Yeah. White man is the devil, and basically, black people are the original man, and it was like that back in those days, right? Yeah. So what ended up happening was this guy, Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, right? He changed the doctrine, okay? And so I asked Abdul Shahid, I go, we're going this weekend to, Ansarullah, that's what we used to call Ansarullah. He goes, no, we're not, because they changed the doctrine, brother. These people, they changed the doctrine. I said, what? How do you change the doctrine? Like, it's just weird to me. Yeah. Right, so now here's my exposure now. I have Nation of Islam,
Shia.
Rafida Shia, and Ansarullah, right? So this is my exposure to Islam, right? So none of them are Muslim, right? But I'm believing I'm a Muslim, right? Yeah. Right? Because, like I said, I don't know, right? Then what ended up happening was Abdul Shahid, he found about Ahmadiyyat. Yeah. Right? And he goes, this is my new guy, Ahmadiyyat. Ahmadiyyat is my new guy. I go, Ahmadiyyat, what's Ahmadiyyat, right? Yeah. And he goes, this is the man, right? So I started getting videos, like video cassettes? Yeah. Look up video cassette, okay? Find out what it is, right? So I got video cassettes of Ahmadiyyat with some debates, right? Yeah. And that was my first exposure to actual Islam, right?
SubhanAllah.
Right? So I would watch his...
So what's this, like late 80s, early 90s?
Late 80s. It's late 80s, right?
Wow.
So this is late 80s, and I started watching his cassettes, right? And those things, up until this day, extremely relevant, extremely powerful, right? He would debate Christians, and he would just tear them up, just brutalize them, right? You know what I mean? Rahimahullah, Ahmadiyyat, right? So I watched maybe his videos, all of them, hundreds of times, maybe, I don't know, so many times, right? And that was my first exposure to actual Islam. And then around this time, we started hearing about Siraj al-Hajj, right? And then Abdul Hakim Quick came back from Medina, right? He's actually the first graduate from the West, or one of two, I believe.
MashaAllah.
From Medina University. The first, right?
SubhanAllah.
Abdul Hakim Quick.
Just in Canada or in the West?
I think in the West.
Wow.
Right? So...
I think he went the same time as Dr. Bilal, right? I
think Dr. Bilal went after him because maybe I could be wrong, but from what I know, I think Dr. Bilal, he was made dawah to by...
Yeah, he told me he took shahada with...
really? Yeah.
Dr. Hakim Quick.
Yeah. So,
it's good shahada to have, right?
You know what I mean? Wow, mashallah.
I just want one like that.
MashaAllah. Yeah, man. So that was my first. I'm telling you all this journey because.
So now you start to get.
Yeah, like exposed
to some Muslims.
Yeah, some Muslims, right?
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
In those days, there was 2 masajid in all of Toronto. Three. I want to say 3, but the one that, as far as not really important because we didn't really go to that, right? So that was Jami Mosque, the very first mosque in Toronto. Yeah, we used to be a church, and the people bought it out and converted it to a masjid. Then there was Tariq, right, which is close to Jane and Finch, right? It's like on the west end of Toronto. Excuse me, on the east end of Toronto, like far. This is the far one I was talking about. Was Islamic Foundation, right? But and back in those days, Islamic Foundation used to be a house.
I think I went past it when I was there.
Yeah. But now it's a massive.
They built a big mosque.
Yeah, it's a big masjid, right? But it used to be like just a.
It's like one of the first mosques in Toronto.
Yeah, right. So, and I was a kid. I became Muslim when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
Right. So I can't drive. You know what I mean? Everywhere I'm going, I'm either taking the bus or Abdul Shahid. He's driving me. He's taking me, right? Right. So, and in Brampton, the first mosque in Brampton was called Brampton Mosque or Torbram Mosque, and it's the same type of thing. It was a house. It used to be just like a rinky-dink house, right? And it was from Jamaat Tabligh, right? And, you know, so my path, I had to go through all these groups. Right, you know, until, you know, alhamdulillah, here I am now, right? Oh, and full disclosure, I don't believe the white man's the devil.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, anyway.
SubhanAllah. So I can't imagine living in that time. I can't imagine it, because I've always had access to books. You know, you can go to these like Islamic bookstores everywhere in the UK. You know, and you've got tons of books, PDFs online, YouTube videos. We've got so much information, you know, and it's like, you know, I hear about some of these early reverts, you know, even before you, like in the 60s and 70s, there was absolutely nothing, like not even like the Quran or anything. It's like, subhanAllah, how did you find Islam? And it's hard to imagine.
It's hard to imagine now, right? But there are people who went through that. You know what I mean? Yeah. There are people who, you know, SubhanAllah. You know, there's a difference when, you know, you're kind of like used to having something at your access to things, and actually having to fight for the things that you need. You know, like there's a difference between going through the Jahiliyyah and just kind of being born a Muslim. You know what I mean? It's a massive difference. You know, so. We came from Jahiliyyah, bro. You know what I mean? So now when we see like all this like fighting amongst the Muslims, because we remember a time when you couldn't afford to fight. You just couldn't if you're a Muslim. Because you were literally fighting for your religion itself. Right? We remember those times, you know what I mean? Now everybody, you know, people generally don't read anymore, right? If they want to find out any information about their talking points or their agenda, just go on Google and just Google it. And here's the refutation. Blah. Go ahead and just read a few sentences.
And they don't even read it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Give it a context. You know what I mean? Give it their own spin or whatever. And they call this refuting, and it's not refuting. It's not sincere, and it's not even. You know. So
how did you get involved in dawah?
Well, okay, so after I became Muslim, you know, and I remember I'm young, I have energy. That's that from that time, I was involved in dawah. You know what I mean? And you know, I was always like calling people to you know, Islam, what I thought it was Islam at that time, you know what I mean? Which is more political stuff, you know, like white man's a devil, look at all the stuff that, you know. But I'm thinking this is Islam, you know what I mean?
I'd love to see, you know, if this would have been in like the 90s, there would have been some video footage somewhere. We could bring it up on you, you know. It's a good job it was in the 80s, you know. Everyone's got a camera in their pocket. You know?
Yeah. Well, even in the 90s, like in the 90s, there really wasn't.
Just imagine you like preaching, you know. You white man, devil.
You know,
I mean, a lot of these groups are kind of, they've either gone now or they've at least calmed down, right? I mean, well, there's still some, but I mean, in Canada especially.
Well, what happened is Louis Farrakhan he himself, he's not the same as he was back then. Like not even remotely close, right? He's more his call is more closer to Christianity than Islam, if we're being real, right? And
I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard Siraj Wahhaj was like giving them dawah, and and I heard they started praying and stuff. Like they got a masjid now. I heard. I mean, they never used to pray, right?
No, I saw something like this. I saw something like this.
I don't know what
on YouTube, but Siraj Wahhaj, he's actually one of these people that a lot of people from the nation and Wardin Muhammad community came to real Islam by his dawah. Many people, right? So, you know, like
I remember going to a lecture of his in the UK, and he was speaking about the work that the Nation of Islam used to do, like praising it. They were doing so much work on the ground in the States. You know, like getting people out of, you know, trouble and drugs and things like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the bottom line is the belief is not true, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, here's the thing though, right? A lot of people who are not in the black community, for example, right? They're kind of outsiders looking in at what's going on in the black community. Now, here in Canada, we don't have this type of the systemic and systematic racism that happens in the States. It's not the same, right? However, if you're black in North America or South America, you're a descendant of a slave, right? So the experience that we have is not like the experience of people from these monolithic cultures. You understand? So now here comes the Nation of Islam, right? In the 60s or whatnot, when Malcolm X joined the Nation of Islam, that's kind of when they really got popular because of his orating skills, right? He's very articulate, right? So
I think today actually is the anniversary of his death. If I'm not mistaken, today I just seen it on someone posted it on Facebook.
Wow. Rahimullah Al-Hajj Al-Malik Shabazz. So these people were putting in work when nobody else was doing it. Not Muslims, not Christians, nobody, right? When you look at black history in North America, so many times throughout history, black people tried to get together, tried to build their own communities. And almost every single time, especially in the States, it was kiboshed by their own government. You know, black people didn't have the right to vote up until very recently. They were considered second-class citizens all the way up until the 60s, right? All the way up until literally foreigners from Portugal or Italy or Ireland would come to the States, get their citizenship before black people who were born and raised in the States and be able to vote, right? And up until this day, when they want to rig elections, they basically know how to rig a based on the color of your skin in America, right? It happened with George Bush, okay? It happened with Donald Trump, right? And it's going to continue happening, right? So now these people are putting in work in the black community, right? And they've accepted what they think is Islam. They accept this. Like me, I accepted something that I thought was Islam. I didn't know that this is in Islam, right? But I was...
It was the closest to Islam you've been exposed to at the time. That's
exactly, right? And they're putting in work, right? And then somebody comes and says that, you know, Louis Farrakhan believes in a spaceship, you know, and he believes in Yaqub, all right? The Yaqub, the one who grafted the white man and all this kind of stuff. All this crazy, and he believes the black man is God, and it's so easy to refute them on a religious level. It's easy. It's not difficult. You know. However, if you're using any sort of thing that resembles wisdom, right? You have to provide them with a message that gives them an alternative, right? Because they are used to doing good in the community. Right, so now you're saying, okay, talking all this stuff about Farrakhan or whatever, right, and what he believes, and it's so simple to. It doesn't take a genius to really refute them. You don't even need to waste your time. Instead of doing that, just talk to them about Tawheed. Tell them about Allah, tell them about the Prophet Muhammad, they'll listen.
But like most of these religions, they fall in love with the speaker.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the 90% that they speak in truth about politics or whatever it is, that's enough for them to just love the speaker.
Yes.
And they kind of turn a blind eye to the actual, you know, the false stuff. You know?
Yeah.
And it just becomes like a cult, you know.
Yeah, of course, this is something that's normal. Even we see them, these type of cultish groups all the time.
Yeah.
But if somebody doesn't know anything else, if that's all they know, then you have to present them with an alternative.
Yeah.
What's the point of you telling this person that this guy believes in the messenger after the messenger? He knows what he believes.
Yeah.
What do you believe?
Yeah.
Teach him the truth. Here, come here, brother. Just let's look at this verse in the Quran. Let's read it together. What do you think? You know, what do you think? Does Allah have any partners? Can Allah come in a person? What do you think about Qul hu Allahu ahad Allahu samad? What do you think about this? Right?
Yeah.
Show them. Right? A lot of them are just sincere, but they just don't know. Right? And plus, they are willing to put in work because they're used to doing it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, so.
SubhanAllah. So how did you start the dawah?
Right. So
because I just want to put it out there because look, you played an active part in the well-known publishers, you know, if you can call it the publishers or the dawah organization.
Yeah.
If you'd like to call it Troid.
Yes.
I mean, aside from the politics of Troid, you know, they did play a huge part in actually publishing books, especially in that period when, before YouTube especially, when people were reliant on books. That was the format where people studied and learnt from.
Yep.
And PDFs. I'm sure Troy, they've got shares in the actual PDF file, I think. Stuff like that. But they did bring a lot of you know, books and knowledge and gave access to knowledge to people. But I want to know about your particular involvement in Troid.
Okay.
And a bit about this because you're not actually with Troid anymore. Are you?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you sure?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's your involvement with Troid?
Right. So basically Troid, there's stages to Troid, right?
Yeah.
So what you see Troid today is not Troid in the early stages at all, right? In the early days, the first days, Troid was only about giving street dawah.
Yeah.
They were about going on the street and calling the non-Muslims to Islam, right? And what we used to do is that we used to go downtown, mostly Young and Dundas, and this are major intersections in Toronto, right? And we would hand out flyers and whatnot, and talk to the people on the street.
But at this time, you had Islam.
Oh yeah,
you were preaching.
And this is now it's Islam. Now it's like real
Yeah.
Islam, right? You know, and so that was Troid, right? If we would go to even schools, right? I remember one time I got Abdul Hakim Quick to come to my own high school,
MashaAllah.
right, to give a lecture
SubhanAllah.
in my high school about Islam. So, you know what I mean?
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, right. So, you know, it was like just about dawah.
Yeah.
It was just calling the people to Islam, making shahadas. That was it, right? And what ended up happening was, at this time I was in St. Catharines when they started getting the center, right? It was Haroon, right? Haroon and a brother named Saeed, right? And some other brothers, they decided that we need a center to push this dawah, right? Right. So they got like a small place, and they got these cassette recording machines, okay? Right? Now, for those of you who don't know what a cassette is, just look it up on the internet, okay? Right? Right? So, and they made their own flyer. The flyer was probably one of the best flyers I ever seen for making dawah. Something like 20 points about Islam. It was an amazing flyer, right? Very informative, right? And they used their own money to pay for this stuff. So that equipment was like maybe $3,000 or something like that, right? And they started with the cassette by Khalid Yasin, right? It's called "The Purpose of Life." Yeah.
You know, subhanAllah, this is still being given out today.
Yeah.
Many dawah.
Yeah.
We used to give that out, but in CD form.
Yeah.
We were a bit upgraded.
Yeah,
you know?
upgraded that.
And there's a brother in Manchester, he had a CD deck.
Yeah,
It was about that high off the floor. You put like 20 CDs in,
Yeah.
and it'll just write them all like in one go.
Yeah.
You know? So we're just like giving them out.
Yeah.
But this is one of the CDs we used to give out.
Yep.
This is like maybe 9 years ago.
Really, huh?
Yeah, so we still
have the CDs, right? Yeah.
We was giving them out, yeah.
That cassette, man, subhanAllah, man, that cassette, so many people became Muslim just from listening to that cassette, right? We just hand them out cassettes like this, and you know, and that's
also another powerful speaker. That
Khalid Yasin?
Yeah, Khalid Yasin.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, anybody who wants to, you know, who's interested in making like street dawah. Or is interested in trying to call people to Islam, whatever, you have to listen to this cassette, man. It's up until this day, I think it's probably one of the best cassettes I ever heard, you know, on converting people to Islam. Very good, you know, very good. So anyway.
So you used to be recording all of these,
right? And, you know, so that, and then, you know, we'd go to Toronto, you know, handle these cassettes, handle flyers, whatever, talk to people. That's how it started, right? And what ended up happening was, this was Troy. Troy was only about the dawah, like real dawah, like grassroots, calling people to Islam. You know, that's how it started. And then Abdul Shahid, again, right? He went to the States. I don't know how he found out about these guys, right? But he went to the States and he met these brothers, right, from the States, and he started coming back with these cassettes from America, right? And the brothers that he come back with their cassettes were Abu Muslima, right, Dawood Adib, and Abu Usama Zahabi.
Oh, mashallah.
Right? So these three brothers were actually one of the major reasons that Salafiyya spread in North America. These three, right?
So you met Abu Osama when he...
I never met Abu Osama. I met Dawood Adib, I met Abu Muslima, right? But I haven't met Abu Osama, right? So, but these guys are responsible for the spread of like Salafi Dawah, you know, in North, from their cassettes.
Yeah.
Right. And people started listening to him. So many people started becoming Salafi, bro. Like that's real talk. Right? Real talk. And back in those days we were united and everything like that. And there was no just like what we see today, right? And of course, in those days, Sheikh Albani, rahimahullah, he was alive. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, he was alive. Sheikh bin Baz, Sheikh Uthaymeen, they were alive. Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah, was alive. And so you had some...
It was different.
It was different. It was different. There was no messing around, really, right?
I mean, the thing is, today someone might, you might not realize, someone might not realize the importance of this. You think, oh, okay, 3 speakers, that's good. But when you just told us how little Islam there was, this is a major thing.
Yeah, of course.
People didn't have access to knowledge.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got people who are teaching the correct Islam.
Exactly.
Actually guiding people.
Yeah.
This is like a major thing, right?
It is absolutely major. Absolutely major, right?
You think, 3 speakers, but you in this context today, 2020, you don't really realize how big of an issue that was.
Yes, 100%.
That must, to have more content, more things to listen to, more,
Yeah, bro, let me tell you.
SubhanAllah.
I used to go to, it's a place in Toronto, it's called Little India, okay? It's a place, it's a street called Gerrard Street in downtown Toronto. And this place in Little India is one of the very first places that you could buy books in Islam. So I would go there and I get these little books or whatnot, right? And one of these books that I got. It's a small book, right? Because like I said, I don't know anything. Right? It's called Sunnat, right? I want to learn about the Sunnah, right? Because I keep hearing about the Sunnah, so I want to listen. I buy this small book, and I start memorizing the stuff in this book, right? And I met Harun one day, sometime after I bought this book, right? Harun Cole, right? The founder of Troy.
The founder of Troy.
Right? And, you know, because he started talking about Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this book, right? Now remember, I'm just a kid, like maybe 17, 18, I don't know. Like I'm young, very young, right? Right? And yeah, I got this book from Little India book. It's called Sunnah. And I'm trying to practice the Sunnah, right? Sunnah. So he looks at the book, right? And one of the things, like, I kid you not, right? It's like how to cut your fingernails and the order from the Sunnah. So 1, 2, 3, right? And so he looked at the book and he goes, you know, brother, sometimes people say something is a Sunnah and it's not the Sunnah. And I looked like, now I didn't understand. I knew what he just said. Like I understood, but I was like, it didn't really click until now. You see a lot of people talk about Sunnah, right? But they're not. It's so easy to see it now, right? Because so many different groups, right? So, you know. But at any rate, this is what we had. This is what was available to me. The first book I ever got. Okay, that had anything to do with Quran and Sunnah was a small, tiny risala, right? A booklet, right? Translated from Sheikh Abdulaziz bin Baz, rahimahullah. That's the first book I ever got that started talking about the Quran says this, Prophet ﷺ said this, and the name of the book was called Knowledge. I got it from Abdul Shahid, actually, right? Because he was expecting these books, right? And we were at Tark Mosque, and there was Ibrahim Downey and Ibrahim Downey was.
I know Ibrahim Downey.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah. So I was there, and Ibrahim was asking Abdul Shahid the books from the Sheikh come, right? And I'm like, Sheikh, what Sheikh? You know, I don't even know what a Sheikh is, right? You know what I mean? Right? Because and then they come with a carton of these small. And he goes, here, read this. I took it and I went home. And from that day, when I finished reading that book, I was like, this here, this is Islam here. This is what Islam really is. All right. That's when I was kind of like clear, right? From just that book, you know? So, at any rate, you know, that was Troy, you know, Troy was about Dawah. And then we started getting cassettes from the three brothers, Abu Muslim, Dawood Adib, and Abu Osama, and we started spreading them out, and then so many people got interested in Salafiyya, bro, from these guys, right? And then what happened was one year QSS did a conference in, I believe it was Detroit, right? It's like, you might hear about this conference from all the brothers anyway, but everybody was there. And I mean everybody. Like you had the Jordanians, right? They were there. Hisham al-Arif was there. Abu Khadija was there. I believe Bilal Davis was there as well, right? Like so many people were there. Obviously the Troy brothers were there, and that one conference was like showing like unity, you know, amongst the Salafis, right? And from that point, like Salafi was just spreading like crazy, like wildfire, right? And so we were calling people to Islam, calling people to the Quran, calling people to Sunnah, right? That was like the real call, you know, in those days, right? So,
you know, but where did it develop from there? Because of course,
everything's changed.
Everything's changed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would take the name Troy and these things with a bit of precaution now.
Yeah.
You know, because they would be seen as hard and tough and, you know...
yeah, they deserve that, to be honest. That's the reality.
Yeah, you know, and what's the difference? How did Troy change and why did you come away?
Wow, that's a story. That's another, you got time? Well, okay, the metamorphosis...
I think it's important because, you know, you say, you know, you're talking about Abu Osama, all these different sheikhs, and, you know, they've all kind of come from the same place, really. You know, a time when there was little knowledge.
Yes.
Brothers start coming back with knowledge, like you mentioned, Abu Sama, Abdul Hakim Quick, and others, Dr. Bilal, others. And then, you know, you get different organizations setting up. And then you said there was unity amongst the Muslims, you know, and then what you would refer to as Salafi. But then, you know, little groups, if you like, start to split and disunity. I think that's the best way to put it. You know, why did these things happen?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you my account, right?
Yeah.
Right, and basically, you know, Abdul Hakim Quick, he was our mentor back then. You know, he was our mentor back in the day, right? And then we started off listening to the lectures of Siraj Wahaj, and then he had Abdul Hakim Quick, and then Hamza Yusuf started coming around. Then he had this guy named Munir Qasim, right? So he's like another kind of Sufi type, right? But anyway, there was like no like the Sunni Salafi Sufi thing at those times, right? It was just dawah, right? Yeah. And what ended up happening was we started hearing about Salafiyya, right? So the first book ever that kind of clarified Aqidah, right, in the English language, and I personally believe this is the best book for English speakers on Tawheed, right, that English speakers should read, right, is Fundamentals of Tawheed from Bilal Phillips, right? So he wrote this book, and then that's when, you know, we started learning about Aqidah, right, because we were all reading it, right? And even up until this day, even though those guys, they hate Bilal Phillips, they still sell this book. They sell his book.
Serious?
Yeah.
Today?
Even up until this day, bro.
SubhanAllah.
Right? Because they know, right? But anyway, so we started hearing about Aqidah, right? And then the brothers would do lectures with Bilal Phillips and whatnot. And what ended up happening was, in my opinion, there were 3 events that caused everything to change, right? The first was the death of the 3 big shaykh, right? And this time that was Sheikh Albani, Sheikh Bin Baz, and Sheikh Uthaymeen, right? When these 3 died, not just in North America but worldwide, things started changing, right? And then, if specifically in North America, the second thing that happened that was major was the death of Abu Uwais, rahimahullah. Now, Abu Uwais, he was kind of like the de facto leader of the Salafis back in those days, right? Even though you didn't hear much about him, but he was the really like the first person in North America to be like openly Salafi, like, and not apologize about it, right? So he's kind of like a legend in the Salafi circles, right? So he died, and then the big icing on the cake was when Sheikh Rabi bin Hadi al-Madkhali started refuting Abu Hassan al-Arabi, right? These were the 3 major things, right? So after Sheikh Rabi refuted Abu Hassan al-Arabi, right? Sometime around this time, right? Abu Muslima was like the first casualty, right? He was the first casualty, right? And I don't believe this is by accident, because Abu Muslima, out of all of them, he had a thriving, and I mean thriving, Salafi community, like a legit.
I heard he has like a huge masjid.
Yes.
Like a huge,
massive
community.
masjid with businesses all around, and people sold their homes and all kinds of stuff to live around this community, right? And around this time, they were talking about having a leader for the Salafis, right? And, you know, there's like a lot of politics involved, including from QSS. Right, including from this brother he was a brother, he apostate, his name is Hernando, right? I mean, there's so many intricate details, bro,
Yeah.
right? But at any rate, Abu Muslima, he said that the scholars in Saudi, they're Hanabila, they're like Hanbali, right? And he said that, and they got it on tape. Long story short, they went to Sheikh Rabi', right? And they told Sheikh Rabi' that this man, he said that scholars of Saudi is Hanbali, whatever. They have the cassette, everything like that. They took him to Sheikh Rabi' Abu Muslima, right? He asked Abu Muslima, did you say this? He said no. Then they played the cassette, and he said, and then Sheikh Rabi' asked, you know who the person on this cassette is? He was saying this right now. He said, I am, and it just caused a big thing. But anyway, Sheikh Rabi', he said that Abu Muslim is a Hizbi, he's a liar, right? All this kind of stuff, right? And, lots of detail, but he basically ordered the Muslims not to go to his masjid. And with that word, okay, that whole community was destroyed. Just with that. And from there, that's when right? Now, Sheikh Rabi', he was warring with Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi at this time, right? So what Sheikh Rabi' did is that he got 30 different people, and in retrospect, when you look back, there are a lot of people that signed off on this refutation. They're not actually scholars, more like Tulab al-Ilm. But anyway, right? You got 30 people to sign off on his refutation on Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi, right? 30, okay? I've never seen this before, and I've never seen it since, right? But it shows that there's something else going on. Like in retrospect now, you see something else is going on here, right? And he is the first scholar that I ever heard say, because they were asking him, what if somebody sides with Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi, right? And Sheikh Rabi', he said, whoever sides with him, treat them like Abu Hassan, like meaning that they're both mubtada', right? They're both innovators. Yeah. And because of this, it was just like a field day on the side.
Guilty by association.
Exactly. And then if you even up until this day, if you look at Spub's refutations, almost like 80% or something, like a large portion, and whenever they reach, and he's on the manage of Abu Hassan.
They've done it with me.
Really? Do you know who Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi is?
No, they put a picture, right? And they've obviously crossed my eyes out in red, the way they do, and then they've basically said this guy's misguided because he's sharing a platform with this guy, and it's like come on, we're doing an event in Africa, and what are you talking about? Right? It's ridiculous. And I'm getting sent this picture. You've been refuted. All they said was,
bro,
you shared a platform with this guy, and that's it. And it's this type of attitude that it drives a lot of people away from. This is why I know I've mentioned it so many times in my podcast. Because of all this fitna. This is why the term Salafi is so misunderstood in the West. It really is. And, people have had experiences or bad experience with certain people. And that's it. They tie everyone with the same brush.
But there's a reason for that too, right? Because you got to remember, a lot of people don't know this because they weren't there back in those days, right? Salafi Publications is the very first website, Salafi website in any language, English or Arabic, the first, okay? Then Troid came out. And in those days, the Troid website was way better, like 1 billion times better than it was today, right? Because the appeal to the Troid website was that they had audios of all the ulama, and you can go if you want Sheikh Albani, you can hear it. If you can Sheikh Mukbil here, Sheikh Abdul Salam al-Burjis here, so many. right? Sheikh bin Baz, Sheikh, every alim you can think of, right? You know, even the Kuwait, and they had it like ordered. There's this Kuwaiti Shaykh, the Yemeni Shaykh, the Talib al-Ilm, the alim, you know, and people would just go there and listen to and that was actually, I did that. I wasn't used to listening to English speakers. I was more listening to the ulama. And most of us back in those, that's what we were doing. We're listening to the ulama, right? So because we thought, and we legit thought this, that Spubs they were the gatekeepers to the ulama, because that's the impression that they gave us, right? And so we just, anything that Spubs said, they are the trustworthy. They came with a tazkiyah from Muhammad bin Hadi al-Madkhali, right? Which now today they refute him, right? But Muhammad bin Hadi was the one who gave them the tazkiyah, right? And say we got tazkiyat from the ulama, right? And we didn't understand what a tazkiyah was. A tazkiyah is like a Google review, bro. It's nothing. It just means that, you know, like if you like a movie,
I know the guy.
yeah, you know, you just oh, this movie is awesome, clause. You know, it doesn't mean that you studied. It doesn't mean that you're able to teach or anything like that. It just means that the alim, he thinks you're cool. Yeah. That's all it means, right? But they use that as a marketing tool and really a mind control tool, right? And they use that to control the people. So now they have the websites, okay? They controlled the websites. They had the forums. They started these forums, Salafi Talk. You know, they had back in those days we used to do Pal Talk lectures, whatnot. So we used to listen to, you know, whoever, it was Abu Khadija or whatever. Right, we used to do Pal Talk lectures. You know, they were basically controlling the narrative. Yeah. So now anybody who tries to come up and say something different, because we understood Salafiyya through those platforms, they were easily just crushed, right?
SubhanAllah.
You know, there was no YouTube.
So it's like a monopoly on the...
Yeah, it was a monopoly on the message, right? So what we didn't know is that ulama were already speaking about a lot of the issues that they were talking about. But they chose, instead of taking both sides, they chose to take the narrative directly from Sheikh Rabi'a. And only from Sheikh Rabi'a, right? And there's a reason for that too, you know? So Sheikh Rabi'a now, you know, anybody who is with him with Abul Hassan al-Ma'rabi issue, like he is going to defend them, the noble brother, this and that, and whatever, right? Now remember what I said about Abu Muslima, right? Abu Muslima, in seconds.
So this thriving community you was mentioning just broke down.
Yeah.
Just by one comment from us.
Just from one comment from Sheikh Rabi'a, okay?
The thing is, I mean, what are the implications of that? Do you know? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not just talking about people not going to the masjid. I mean, were people leaving Islam?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because if you've not got that strong community, what's happening to the people?
You can see it up until this day. You can see the implications of what happens in this day. We're talking about a community that was striving. And this is something that is not unusual amongst Black people. It's not unusual for foreign influences to come and destroy a Black community, and this is 100% an example.
Don't you be bringing up the white devil again? No, but I know what you mean, subhanAllah.
Yeah, and I don't believe this is by accident, you know what I mean? I believe that, you know, like real talk, anybody, any person who's ever studied overseas, right? 100% of them, at least in North America, right? And I'm pretty sure it's true in Britain as well, but 100% of anybody who ever studied in Saudi or Yemen or Mauritania, whatever, if you're going to study Islam, you are getting approached by the feds. The feds are going to approach you. Why are you going here? You know, what do you plan on doing? You know, you know, and they will question you and question. I got approached by the feds. You know what I mean? My picture was handed out in Scarborough. You know, the feds were, you know, asking about me in the Islamic Foundation. You know who came and told me A Sufi brother, actually Sufi brother. He told me they're passing your picture around asking about you. I'm like, really? And I go, you know. But anyway, they always ask you for information if you want to work for them, right? So if 100%, if this happens to 100% of the people study or going to study or in these type of Islamic knowledge field, right? You think 100% of them are going to say no? 100% of these Muslims are not going to, going to be turncoat on the Muslim community, Omar Sheikh, big example, man. Omar Sheikh took $300,000 from the Canadian government to snitch on Muslims.
Wow.
You know what I mean? $300,000, bro. Right? So,
I mean, you got some well-known people in the UK, similar things.
Yeah.
Which are openly now government bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now
they offered huge money. Yeah.
So the U.S. government, they have a history of destroying any type of black progress on a communal level in the States. This is something that's known, right? Go look up Black Wall Street, for example. One of the most popular examples. For me, I don't have look up the Black Panthers. Look what they did to the Black Panthers. You know what I mean?
Malcolm X
himself.
Too much power for one man, right?
Yeah. They have a history of doing this, right? This is not something unusual.
So when did you take a step back from Troid, and when did Troid itself kind of?
Yeah, so what ended up happening with Troid was that I moved my family from St. Catharines to west end of Toronto, specifically to be close to the center and so that my family can help the center out, and I picked a location close to the message, everything, right? That was my goal, that was my intention. When I was in St. Catharines, right? Now remember, I'm in St. Catharines. St. Catharines and Toronto are about over 100 kilometers. Oh, wow. It's not close at all, right? And I basically, because I was already making dawah in Toronto, but when we moved to St. Catharines, right, I wanted to make dawah in St. Catharines, and, I wanted to basically do CDs, right? So I spent a lot of money, my own personal money, right, on this CD equipment, right? Like maybe $5,000 in total, right? So I got a machine that converted cassettes to CDs. I got a machine that basically copied CDs. I got the printer machine for the CDs. Yeah. Right. Like, so I got the CDs. You know what I mean? So it wasn't cheap, right? And I wanted to do a website, so I spent a bunch of money building the website because I know how to build a website. I hired a brother to build the website for me, right? And I asked the brothers before, right, and the multiple witnesses, right? I asked them before if I can actually do this. I said, yeah, man, of course, it's a great idea. You know what I mean? So who was there? It was Muad Qureshi was there, Amar Ali was there. I can't remember who else, right? So what happened was, now remember, I'm used to making dawah, right? And Umar Alundi, right? Umar Alundi is the webmaster at this point of Troid, right? He's the webmaster, right? So I don't know him, right? Because he came after I was there, right? So he probably saw me as some new guy, right? But I saw him like, who's this new guy, right? Because I never seen him before, right? So anyway, I launched the website, okay? And the day I launched the website, I got an email from Umar Lundy, we are ordering you to cease and desist this website and blah, blah, blah. And how can some brother that's close to us betray the brothers? And like, I saw this, I was completely shocked, right? I didn't know what was going on. And I called Amr and Amr told me he doesn't agree with this. But he told me straight up he doesn't agree with this. And I asked Muad. Muad at that time, he's the Mudir, is the leader of Troy, right? And he said, well, yeah, I know I gave you permission, but Omar, he disagreed. See, Muad, he thinks he needs Omar, right? Because Omar's the webmaster, right? So now he's playing politics, right? So I was shocked. My wife was shocked. So we're like, what do we do? Right? So, you know, I prayed istikhara, right? And I gave all that thousands of dollars of CD equipment to the center so that they can make dawah, right? And feasibility, just like that. I gave it to them. And that was the first time that CDs were introduced into dawah, right? I believe that I was the first person to ever do it, right? Right? Nobody else was doing it at all. Nobody. No, not that I know of anyway. Not even ICNA or ISNA or anything like that. I was the first person to do the CD thing, right? So
what year was this?
I can't remember. It's like 90, early. I'm gonna say early
90s.
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah, yeah. You know, so
you pulled the web.
Again?
Did you pull the website?
Yeah, I pulled the website, everything, right? So because I was about the dawah. I wasn't about this baller. I just want to make dawah. That was it. Maybe Allah will give me. I was thinking. That's how I was thinking in my head, right? I didn't know that Omar Alandi was, you know, pocketing the money. I didn't know that. I found all that stuff later, right? But anyway, that was my first experience.
So what you think? You think they didn't agree with it purely from a financial perspective?
Again?
Do you think they didn't agree with it from a financial perspective?
100%. Yeah. Not I think. I know.
So they didn't want
I know. Not I think. I know that's why they didn't.
So they didn't want to give basically free stuff.
He told me with his own mouth, Wallah al-Azim, Rabbul Kaaba, that it will cut into the funds of the dawah. Think about this. Over 100 kilometers away, cutting into the funds of the dawah.
And you live in this early 90s where there's lack of Islamic education. Anything. You know, you just want to get it out there, right?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So that's what that's how I know. That's how I know, because he said it just like that. It will cut in the funds of the dawah. Okay? Yeah. Right. So anyway, so yeah, as I mentioned, I moved there, right, to Toronto. Now they have my CD equipment, whatever, and I'm there and I'm trying to help out and everything like that. And then I started volunteering, right, at the center, right. And my wife, she's like a legit accountant. And my wife, she's like, Bob, she calls me Bob. You go, what? And she goes, look at this. And I look and I see Troy has lost its charitable status, right? And charitable status is not an easy thing to get in Canada, right? But charitable status, why it's important is because it gives you the ability to write off donations, right? So if you have the ability to write off donations, you can get high big money donors, right? Because they're going to write it off as a tax write-off, so they'll get it back in tax time, right? Right. So they lost that status. I said, this is not good, right? That was the year that Ahmed Essing was the Mudir, right? That's when that happened, right? So I called an emergency meeting. I told them, right? And shortly after, they put me on the shura, right? So now I'm on the shura. Right, and I start taking all the bills, all the accounting, because my wife, she's trying to get the charitable status back. It's not an easy task, right? It's not like a small thing, right? And then we started noticing anomalies, right? Like money's missing here, money's missing there, right? Now remember, I'm young. I'm like young, like early 20s, right? And I'm not thinking anything bad about these guys. I don't have any bad feelings to them. These are, you know, just some brothers that were trying to make dawah, right? I don't have any bad ill will or anything like that. So I started asking about money, like, why is this money here? Where's the money? Where's the money? Right? But I wasn't being rude about it. I just want to know, because we're trying to get this charitable status out, right? Whatever, right? And then, you know, we had a meeting, right? Right? And then they just kicked me off the shura, right? So, but they were telling me because I'm not doing anything, right? So, like, okay, I'm not doing anything, right?
You didn't realize because you was poking around and asking.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I did not know that, right? I found that out afterwards, right? Because brothers were telling me, they had meetings about me, right? And I said, what, right? So I found it was like years afterwards, right? So anyway, so So now I'm off the shore now, right? So now, another big thing happened with Muad, right? He got exiled to the States. I don't want to get into that because it's not really a good thing to talk about, right? And what did it for me was these guys. This is like a process right now, right? These guys try to go behind my back to get my wife to do the accounting so they can get the. So now I'm not in the shore anymore, right? They talk to my wife directly.
Wow.
Like direct bypass me to get to my wife so she can do the
Because
accounting.
he's qualified to do all the
Yeah,
accounts.
right. So that's another thing that left a bad taste. So now I'm off the shore, and I'm not doing anything with the shore anything anymore. But I'm still about the dawah, right? So, long story short, a sister, she gets in contact with Abdullah Al-Wadi, Sheikh Mukbul's daughter, right, in the Metch, right? And she says that she can get us classes with the Shayukh in the Metch. She's like, of course, let's do it. Let's make it happen, right? So I go to the brothers, look, because she's coming to me. She goes, I want you to tell these brothers you can get these classes. So that's what I did. I went to them. I told them we can get these classes. That time they tried to snatch the classes away from me so that they can control it, right? And they're saying all kinds of bad things about me, So they tried to do that, it didn't work. Ahmed Hassan goes to the match, starts talking about me all the way in the match, right? And tries to kibosh the classes in the match, didn't work, right? And eventually the classes did get kiboshed, but that's another thing, right? So now I'm seeing all this stuff happening.
This is like a big power struggle.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
So, and all this is while Abu Uwais is alive, right? So what ended up happening was these guys had a conference in the States, right? So, and they were told Ahmed Hassan and Umar London to go to the States for this conference, and Abu Uwais laid them out. And one of the big topics in this meeting was me and all the stuff they did to me and my family and all this kind of stuff, right? That was one of the major things, right? So after that conference, things kind of calmed down for a bit, right? And what ended up happening was I go to Yemen, right? And then of course, Ahmed Hassan, he's there in Yemen, and he's like trying to win my reputation, all kind of stuff. There's all kind of just crazy stuff happening, right? So finally, I ended up moving to Saudi, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, they're my brothers and everything, but I don't really want anything to do with them. I'm moving on with my life. I don't really care, right? But I'm in Saudi, okay? So I lived in Saudi for 9 years. And then I started seeing these YouTube videos of Sheikh Wasila Abbas refuting Abu Khadija and Bilal Davis by name, mentioning by name and calling them liars and juhal and don't sit with them, like so clearly. Now we all know that Sheikh Wasila Abbas, he's one of our ulama. So I'm in Saudi, I'm thinking, okay, it's a done deal. It's a wrap. I don't know what's happening in the West, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm done with these guys, right? From there, but what really put me over the hump was when Shadid Muhammad, because they were refuting Shadid Muhammad on all kinds of stuff, right? And then finally, Shadid Muhammad, he came out and he spoke, right? And I didn't know who Shadid Muhammad was, right? I only found out who he was from these guys, actually, right? Him and Tahir Wyatt. I didn't know who they were, right? So I listened to Shadid Muhammad's lecture about...
What year was this?
Oh, man, I can't remember. I was in Saudi. It must have been like 2000s, like maybe mid-2000s, I want to say. I want to say like around this time. Or maybe late 2000s, right? So
all you guys are still quite young then.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Eh?
This is
So Shadid, this one is the one that broke the camel's back for me, right? When Shadid Muhammad started speaking about Sheikh Obaid, right? And Shadid Muhammad said that he was supposed to have a meeting with Sheikh Obaid, right? And Tahir White was going to bring him to Sheikh Obaid's house, and everything's cool, everything there. And the day that they were going to go, Sheikh Obaid told Tahir, "Don't come in, don't bring Shahid." Right, just like that. So he called off the meeting. He never met, and he still and Sheikh Obaid was refuted. Shadid is going there to clarify the issues. He wants to clarify because he doesn't want to be kicked off the manhaj, right? He wants to, some clear. So he's going there to find out what the issues are. Sheikh Obaid calls off the meeting. I said, and I heard that. I was like, what? Like, this guy's but he's being passed off as an alim. What kind of alim is afraid of meeting somebody, right? If you want Islah, that's what you do, right? So from that, when I heard that, I was like, no, these guys are off. They're like, they're gone, right? So yeah, that's pretty much, that was it for me. But I didn't know that people still kind of like, they had that type of reach still, because I'm thinking after Sheikh Wasi'ullah refuted me, Khalas, Sheikh Wasi'ullah Abbas, how many people does he actually refute? If he refutes, it has to be good. You know what I mean? Yeah. It has to be true. So,
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history behind it.
Oh yeah.
SubhanAllah. And it's just a shame because, of course, like you in the beginning, I'm just focused on basic dawah.
Yeah.
And you're trying to explain the truth to people. And of course, you have all these different sects and groups. And when you're trying to explain the truth and you're pointing people in the right direction, and you just get associated and tied with the same brush.
Yeah, it's haram.
And it's just like,
this is haram. You can't do this.
It's not like that,
You can't do this. Yeah. I have Christian family members. I go to their homes for dinner and I invite them to my house for dinner. That makes me a Christian now. I'm sure you have Christian family members as well.
Yeah.
These people don't believe in Allah. They believe that Jesus is God. They believe that. We associate with them, whatever, talk to them, whatever. You know what I mean? Because you sit with another Muslim who disagrees with is not upon their manhaj, because you sit with them and interview them, you now become a mubtada'. What rule is that? it's like the one drop rule. We can
be sure that this is after this podcast. Sitting with you, I'm finished.
Actually, I tell these guys, please, I beg them, please, I'm waiting for your refutation. I'm waiting. I said this in my videos. I want Abu Yad to write a PDF on it because
it's just the thing is, I get really sad because Abu Yad. I'm really sad because I have benefited a lot from his works.
Yeah, the old ones.
Yeah, but he's done great work.
Yeah.
And I just wish, and I ask Allah to just bring him away from, just stop being so bitter with the Muslims. Be gentle with the Muslims.
We used to be like that. Especially us older brothers. But then, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the believer doesn't get stung by the same hole twice. Some people are just snakes, and they wear thobes and put on beards, and they hop on the minbar and say inna alhamdulillah, and they're shayateen. Some people are like that, right? So you have to be mature enough to recognize that, and just call it for what it is. We know you by the way you act, right? What kind of person puts out 15 PDFs on one man? 15. Talk about Muhammad Hijab.
SubhanAllah.
15. And what was Muhammad?
It was like 70,000 words into it. It's like a book.
You know what I mean?
A little book on Muhammad Hijab.
Muhammad Hijab, right? And then you have these brothers telling you, why are you? I wish you didn't go with Muhammad Hijab. He's Ikhwani. I'm like, just please. If you have something significant to tell me, then please tell me. But I will talk to whoever I want to talk to. And you are not going to stop me. So if you want to make me mubtadi' for doing an interview with Muhammad Hijab, please tafaddal. Go ahead. You know?
Subhanallah.
You're not going to stop me from talking to who I want to talk to.
So, look, I don't have much battery left.
Okay.
So I just want to ask you one thing as well.
Yeah.
You see, knowing the state of the dawah currently in the West, obviously you're from Canada, you know what it's like in the States, you've got these different groups. How do you think we should be calling people to Islam?
The way that the Salaf did it.
Yeah.
Right? What did the Salaf start with? They always started with the Quran, right? They started with, calling the people to Allah. This is what they did, right? We make our wala wa bara based upon Allah and His Messenger. We make our allegiance, right, to Allah and His Messenger as close as the people to Allah and His Messenger are, right? That's how we make our, and we make our bara, we make our disassociation as far as the people are. That's how we're supposed to do it. We're not supposed to do it for men. My wala and bara is not for Muhammad hijab. Why are you telling me about Muhammad hijab for? Am I worshiping Muhammad hijab? You know what I mean? Like, use some common sense. Sheikh Albani, rahimahullah, never had a Salafi teacher. I'll repeat, Sheikh Albani, rahimahullah, never had a Salafi teacher. His first teacher was his father. His father, Nasruddin, was the Grand Mufti of Albania. He was a big Hanafi scholar. A big Hanafi scholar. Okay? His family left Albania. They're not Arabs, okay? They're Albanian, ethnic Albanians. They're not Arabs at all. Okay? Not a drop of Arab blood. Okay? They left Albania, moved to Syria to leave, because the communists were coming, right? And so they fled. They made a hijrah to Syria. Okay? Sheikh Albani learned about Salafiyya from literally reading every single book in an Islamic library in Damascus. He read an entire library. That's how he got introduced to the Sunnah, right? So if you read like an entire library of books, you're gonna know some stuff, right? That's Sheikh Albani. Not only that, but Sheikh Albani, he rahimahullah, he put the books in that library in order. Right? He found these transcripts or whatever, parchments, whatever, and he organized them. Right? And he never had a Salafi teacher. So he's dealing with Ash'aris his entire life. His entire life is Ash'ari. He's dealing with Ash'aris his whole life, going to the Ash'ari masjid, talking to the Ash'ari shayukh. Refute Sheikh Albani then. Why are you talking about me? Use some common sense, people.
SubhanAllah, I've heard a lot of stories, and I've also witnessed myself, there's parts of the world where Islam, I mean, obviously in the West it's weak, but there's parts of the world where there's so little Islam. And you get some of these brothers who are very, you could even describe as extreme in that sense. And SubhanAllah, it's like, you're teaching people literally the basics of Islam.
Yeah.
Like literally Qul Huwallahu Ahad, or the Salah. And they're telling the people, don't listen to this person.
Don't listen to this guy, don't listen to him.
SubhanAllah, the people don't even have Islam, and you're talking about don't work with this person, don't work with that person.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah,
And honestly, I don't believe that this issue of Jarh wa Ta'deel should be left for foreigners to deal with it for us. It should be left to trusted people who are here, who speak the language of the people and can put things in context, right? And so what Spubs has done, whenever they wanted somebody refuted, just go directly Sheikh Rabi, whatever, and they say the same thing. He's on the manhaj of Abul Hasan al-Ma'arabi. He doesn't speak about Abul Hasan al-Ma'arabi. It's the same thing.
There's something that gets
read their PDS, you'll see it, right? He's on the manhaj of Ikhwan, He speaks against the Salafis. This is how they approach the Sheikh. And you can even see it in the Q&A or whatnot, right?
My first interaction with Salafi publications, I was a new Muslim. I didn't have a beard at the time. To be honest, I didn't know you had to have a beard.
Yeah.
I wasn't having a beard being like arrogant or...
Yeah, you just didn't know.
I just lost my family don't want to know me. I just had to give up my singing career, and I'm not growing a beard out of being stubborn. Like I've sacrificed for Islam already. It's like I didn't know you had to have a beard, right? And the brothers circled me, and they're like, "What's your Muslim name?" And I'm like, John. No, what do you mean, John? I'm like, I said that. I was a bit cocky as well. I said, Umar was called Umar when he was a mushrik, And then he's like, "Where's your beard?" I'm like, "I've not got a beard," And they were very hard, And then for me, like anyone who labelled them Salafi or anyone who even looked like them, I ran away from them.
Yeah, from that time, huh?
I didn't want to know people.
There was a time it wasn't like that, bro. Wallahi, it was a time.
I've got a little story because one of the brothers, he ended up getting refuted by them, and he left them. So 8 years, 9 years down the line, or maybe 8 years down the line, we become friends, right? So he wanted to speak to a sheikh that I know, so I got the sheikh on FaceTime, and this brother had become a bit of a cool dude. He's got like a nice haircut and everything. So he asked the sheikh the question, and then after he asked the sheikh the question, the sheikh said, "Oh, by the way, brother, go and get your haircut. You got qazra." I said to the brother, I said, "That's getting you back for what you did to me a long time ago." And the brother was so embarrassed because the sheikh. It was funny. It's funny. But it's funny how it kind of came back on him. But this is the reality, and it's like, subhanAllah, you're pushing people away from Islam. Like, if I was, I could have run to a misguided group. I could have run and started worshipping graves after that. I mean, I wouldn't, but I'm just saying, like, there are people that get pushed away from the true belief because of the way people are treating them, and it's wrong. It's because they're wrongly associating, these people. Or the way that people, with Salafis or whatever, and it's just, that's not how it should be,
No, it's not, and really, it doesn't have to be like that. I don't accept that. I refuse to accept that. Whoever don't like it, let them not like it. Here's the thing, right? When Salafia came, it kind of like spread like like I mentioned, it spread very, very quickly. When Spubs started, trying to control the narrative, that's when everything kind of halted to a stop, with the help of Sheikh Rabi'a. Now they started fighting these 7th century wars with the Muslims, against the Ash'aris, and you know what I mean? That narrative has died hundreds of years ago. We have completely different problems that don't involve Muhammad Hijab, don't involve Siraj al-Hajj, don't involve Abdul Hakim Cook. We have Muslims becoming atheists, bro. We have Muslims, like I read the other day on a news article, I think on Breitbart or something like that, about Muslims accepting LGBTQ and all kinds of, you know what I mean? We have like deep problems. We have, when I came back to Canada, I went to this masjid here, Masjid Rahma, right? And first time I came back, I saw brothers, first time I ever seen this in my life, in the masjid with earrings. Wow. Earrings in the masjid, bro. And you want to talk about Siraj al-Hajj? Come on, man. We have like issues. Like we got issues. You know what I mean? Siraj al-Hajj is just not important right now. That issue is dead, buried. It's all these issues have been dealt with years ago.
We need to clarify that. Look, we know there's different sects in Islam. We know that we disagree with different groups, different sects, or different things, but there has to be a certain level of cooperation.
Not just cooperation, but like wisdom, hikmah. Every generation has its issue. In this, even if you look at the Quran, right? When you look at Lut, the prophet Lut, what was his issue at his time? The people were homosexual, right? That was his issue, right? If you look at Musa, right? What was the issue at his time? It was Fir'aun, right? If you look at Ad and Thamud, what was their issue? The issue was they were like strong and arrogant, and every generation has its issue. Our issue in this generation, right, is the rampant spread of atheism, right, which Muhammad Hijab deals with on a regular occasion, right, and the LGBTQ, these are major things, right? Now, atheism if you look at the arguments, it's not really that strong. So why are so many Muslims becoming atheists? Right? Their arguments are like nonsense, right? But Muslims are still accepting it, right? So you got to think like strategically. Are you going to attack the mouse that's in the room, or are you going to attack the lion that's in the room?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, subhanAllah. Jazakallah khair, bro.
SubhanAllah,
I'm surprised the camera's actually held out. SubhanAllah. I'm on 3% on that one. And, we need to start. So it's a pleasure to see you, SubhanAllah, and hear your story and your journey, SubhanAllah, finding Islam, and you've been through a lot, many stages, SubhanAllah.
Yeah, many stages.
And,
we all have our own stories, you know what I mean? So, you know, but again, the most important thing is wala is for Allah and His Prophet. It's not for Sheikh Rabi. It's not for Sheikh Albani. All these arguments with the people are having about people take you away from the real problems that we're having, right? And if we just spent a little bit more time studying Quran and Sunnah and less time arguing with each other, then everything will come into perspective.
Jazakallah. One more question.
Go ahead.
And you have to be quick, because literally, why the name The Feachaz? Where does this come from?
I was selling cars, right? And we were thinking of ways to kind of promote the cars, right? Right. So I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we start a YouTube channel, right? And we can kind of like go through all the features in the car. Right?
Okay.
And then we can call this YouTube channel The Feachaz.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I started the YouTube channel. And that's why I actually had car videos there before I switched. Right? But I just never, you know. Yeah, so it wasn't supposed to be a dawah channel. It just, you know, it was something completely, it's supposed to be something completely different, you know? Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء